My only thing to everybody was कि कुछ चेक लेके आना बस.
चेक लेके.
300 रुपए का चेक हो या 6000 रुपए का चेक हो, बस चेक लेके आना.
कहने को सभी कर देंगे.
In the very beginning, we had no customers and we had no salespeople, we had no money, so we used to take jobs from newspapers. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Things won't work out. मैं तो यार young हूँ, मेरे को नौकरी मिल जाएगी कहीं ना कहीं. So we were scared of Google also that time.
The biggest trait of an entrepreneur is how long can you sprint when the distance is unknown.
I can tell you we missed things because we were not as connected to the market as we should have been. So you would search for Amitabh Bachchan on Google, you would see posters on Naukri.com. You search I am promoting Internshala today यार.
एक दूसरे सपोर्ट देंगे, हाँ जी चल जाएगा.
अगर मैं आज अप्लाई कर लूँगा तो शायद मैं आ ही ना. This is a no-brainer यार अभी.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me in yet another episode of Internshala Chat Show. My name is Sarvesh. I'm the founder and CEO of Internshala, India's largest intern and fresher hiring platform. Entrepreneurship is a tough journey with odds stacked against all of us, and building the right team can significantly improve our odds of success. And that is the theme of this chat show, to invite inspirational founders and understand from them their journey of building their ventures and the team behind it, so that it can help all of us in our journeys in some way. This show is meant for the founders, the audience, that is you. And I would encourage you to drop your questions, comments in the questions or the chat panel that you can see on your side. And I will try to pick them, as many of them as possible, because as I said, the show is meant for you. So without further ado, let's welcome our today's guest, Hitesh Oberoi, co-founder of India's largest job site, Naukri.com, and co-promoter, MD and CEO of InfoEdge, which beyond Naukri runs three other large businesses, 99acres.com, Jeevan Sathi, and Siksha.com, and have invested in several startups which turned unicorns and decacorns later, like Zomato and Policybazaar. Naukri was founded in 1997, right at the dawn of internet era in India. And it would not be understatement to say that we have with us the pioneer of the consumer internet in India, who has been at the core of the entire startup scene for the last 26 years. So this show is very special to me personally, because there's so much that I'm looking forward to learn from Hitesh. So hi Hitesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sarvesh. Thank you for having me here.
Right. Very, very honored and privileged to have you with us today. The first question I have, and I've been dying to ask that, is that did you ever apply for a Naukri on Naukri.com yourself? And what was your experience?
I must have, because many times, because I used to test the site very often in the early days, because we had a very small tech team.
Correct.
And we were very lean. And every now and then, I would log in and sort of apply to see what happened. And then, it's a couple of years after, around 2003, I think we launched a database product, which is now our highest selling product. 78% of our revenue comes from the database product. And after we launched the database, I registered in the database with under some different names. It's just to, because we used to send these job alerts. We complain about them sometimes, but it's the quality of those alerts. I used to create different profiles in our database just to understand what was happening. Because we had a very lean setup. We had a couple of people in tech. We had no QA team, nothing at that time.
Right.
It was the only way to understand if things were working.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I must have applied to fake applied to jobs at that time.
Did you ever get an offer that you were tempted to take?
Right. So that was a very different time. Let me tell you a story how I got excited about the internet space. Okay, because I was a very young guy at that time. I was 26, 27 years old. And newspapers were how companies used to hire. I mean, the internet was not big at that time. In 98, 99, 2000, maybe there were a couple of 100,000 people on the internet. That's about it.
Yeah.
Maybe by 2000, there were 1 million people on the internet. That's how small the internet was. There were no smartphones. Cell phone calls used to be 16 rupees a minute. 16 rupees a minute. Incoming, 16 rupees for outgoing.
Incoming, outgoing, yes.
So it was a very different world. There were only desktops.
Correct.
Very few people had access to the internet. So most hiring used to happen through newspapers. I used to work for a company called Hindustan Lever in the early days. That's my only place I worked. And one day I was a little frustrated and I was like, "Yaar, kya ho raha hai bahar?" like I should do something different. So there was a full page ad in on the back page of the Times of India, right? And it said, "Do you want to retire in 3 years or 35?"
Wow.
Okay, and it did not name the company.
It didn't name the company.
It did not name the company. It was just email ID. I applied to that job. Okay, so I got a call from an internet company, not Naukri, not Info. I got a call from an internet company. We'll start already. We're going to start. It was like, and we are at planning stage, and we're looking to hire some bright people. And at that time, there used to be this big exhibition in Pragati Maidan called India Internet World.
India Internet World.
India Internet World. So
okay.
So in 99, 90, there used to be this whole thing in Pragati Maidan, and all these ISPs and some of the other big sort of internet telecom companies, and they used to sort of showcase themselves at India Internet World. So I got a call from a founder, and a seasoned founder. He was running another IT services company at that time.
Sure.
He said, "Listen, why don't you come and work with us?" And as a part of the selection process, he said, "Yeah, listen, why don't you create a business plan for this portal? I think I want to start." Right. So that was how I got exposed. I sort of to the internet world. Luckily, I bought a computer. I went and did some research. I did a one-page business plan for that company. So that's how I got interested in the internet. So it happened because of a newspaper ad, but
I entered into the internet, and I'm glad you saw that ad, because had you not seen that ad, the consumer internet and the startup ecosystem in India would not have found its gem. So I'm really glad that you saw that ad. So I will talk about your journey more in detail, but I want to sort of come 26 years fast forward. You have been, the question about your perseverance and motivation, right? You have been at it for 25 odd years. You have nearly done it all, seen it all, have achieved pretty much what most of us aspire to do, right? But I see the same days with excitement in you and in your team. And what is it that, what is the drive behind that? I mean, why not chill?
Well, I think if you ask me what is really exciting about what we do, and I think this is true, because for a lot of new age companies, there are so many sort of exciting things happening all around. So the internet world changes every few years, right? So, when we started life, there was no Google. The search engines were Lycos and Yahoo and Alta Vista. And then suddenly you had Google, and Google became very big overnight. And we had to figure out search engine optimization, search engine marketing, all those things, etc. Then you had the social revolution. So you had social media, and suddenly, you were like figuring out, okay, social media, how do you sort of leverage that?
Get that, yeah.
And then you had the mobile revolution,
right? Which
is so big today, right?
Yeah.
And then today, there's you're grappling with AI and machine learning and generative AI and how to leverage that for your business. So it's an exciting world. It's changed every few years, which is very interesting. Number one. Number two, I like the idea that we are trying to solve big problems, right? Because the truth is, jobs is such a huge challenge in this country.
Right.
So many people looking for jobs all the time.
Yeah.
It's a big utility. The fact that we are able to help millions of people find jobs is very, very,
satisfying
in many ways. The real estate problem is again a big problem. It's a very opaque market. 99 acres, we're trying to solve that problem. It's not fully solved. But it keeps you excited. We are doing something which will make a difference, which is going to sort of change the way
the industry works. Yeah,
people are done in this space, and it's going to have a lasting impact.
Correct.
Again, in Shiksha, it's a small business for us, but we realized many years ago that beyond the IITs and IIMs, nobody has a clue.
Correct.
And
that's true.
And so if we can help solve this problem for billions of people, it'll make a difference.
Correct.
So because there's so much to do and so many problems to solve and so many exciting things happening in this space to make it possible. Stuff which was not possible to do 5 years ago is possible today because of technology.
Correct.
And because we have been able to build an A-class team, because it's also the people you work with.
Correct.
You work with good people, that keeps you going, that keeps you motivated, because you're not the only one thinking about it. They're also sort of trying to solve problems. They're all in it together, teamwork. There's so that in the beginning it was hard because when we were a startup, we didn't have a very good We had very few people. But now, there's this whole bunch of people many of who are smarter than me.
Right. Yeah.
I tell people inside info, yaar, agar main aaj apply kar runga, to shayad main hire hi na ho. So that also is exciting and motivating.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's what keeps you going. Yeah.
Yeah. So you see yourself as a lifelong learner who's always excited at the opportunity of learn something new. And you're saying technology, the people around you, they always keep you challenged to keep you thinking.
Yes. Right. Yes. So lifelong learning, lifelong problem solving. Doing something which makes a difference, which creates an impact. These are things which motivate me. Outside Info Edge also, I'm involved with a couple of philanthropic initiatives like Ashoka University, Sure. So that's also exciting because again, there we are trying to reimagine the world of higher education. Do things a little differently than they've been done in the past.
Right.
So this whole, and also like I said, working with smart, excited people who want to make a difference, who are motivated, that also gives you energy.
Yeah. In fact, there are 2 points from this answer that I want to pick upon, and we have questions in my later part of the show. One is it's building this A team, right? And as I said, the theme of the show is around building the right team. So in the initial days, how did you build this team? Because you may not have had that kind of money, you may not have had that kind of brand.
Yeah.
And so what was your hiring framework and what was your leadership? What has been your leadership framework to pick the right team? Yeah. What do you look for? What did you look for and what do you look for now?
So see, now we are very evolved. In the beginning, we were very random. To be honest, we didn't have money and we were like, boss, isko hire kare, to kya hoga? And what will happen? Will we break even in 3 months? Will we break even in 6 months of this hire? So in the beginning, because we didn't have that kind of money, and there was a point in time when we were losing 25 lakhs a month. We had 3.5 crores in the bank. And funding had dried up after the .com bust. There was no money available, and we are not broken even. God knows what would have happened, right? So we were very, very conservative. We were, and we mostly invested in hiring salespeople. Salespeople used to we discovered this model of putting feet on street, and we realized that within a few a month, the salespeople would break even, and they would become contribution positive. If they lasted for 4-5 months in the system. So we were like, this is a good model because it gets you jobs, content, it gets you revenue, and therefore you don't have to raise money if you become profitable, and it helps you build a network effect, in your business. So we were like, ye sahi hai. In the beginning, we were totally revenue focused. Okay. And we just, once we got the sales model right, we just expanded massively in sales. 2 years, put 300-400 people. At a time when people used to say, "You're an internet company, why do you need people in the field, etc." A lot of people used to tell us that, this is not how internet company is supposed to be. We were like, Indian, HR managers need to be many of them didn't have computers, some of them didn't have access to the internet. And we need to go to them and educate them on how to use our site, how to use our services. Otherwise, they will never adopt.
Correct.
So in the beginning, it was basically investing in only stuff like this. We had a very lean engineering and tech team, like I told you, for this reason only, because they were not, we used to see it as a cost center at that time. But once we got to a point where, the business became profitable, we started generating some money, and then we were like, now we can think a little differently. And we need to, and as we were constantly learning, like I said, from what was happening around us. It was a very new thing. Digital space. People understood there was no concept of product management.
Correct.
For a very long time, there was no concept of UX.
All these terminologies, UI, UX, product management, these roles didn't exist.
Exactly. So as we learned, we attended conferences, people, etc., read stuff here and there. Ab ye sab bhi karna chahiye.
Correct.
Right? And once we became profitable, we started investing in. Correct. Well, perhaps we should have done it earlier.
Right.
We were perhaps a little late. But and then we started hiring. We said, listen, we need some good people. We need some smart. The sales guys we had were fantastic. They were awesome.
Right.
But for these new skill sets, because people were not easily available,
right,
we had to think a little differently.
Right.
So then we said, okay, let's see what we can get from outside. Luckily, because of our advertising, because we had become a brand, in the beginning it was also hard to hire good people because nobody at that time wanted to work for a startup. Nobody at that time a job in a large company. Work for a startup. But by 2006-2007, we had become public. We had, sort of built a brand for ourselves. We had built it. So there were enough people willing to sort of look at us and consider us.
No, but by 2006, and you're already 500 plus company, right? My question is, first 100 hires. Was there anything specific that you were looking for? Like even today,
sales ke bande the. Okay, and was like, will this guy go into the field and work and make 4 sales calls every day or not? Does he have that energy? Does he have that passion?
Okay.
Will she do this or not? We were not looking for anything else. We were looking for people with energy, with passion, and with this go-getter attitude. Listen, I have to do my target no matter what. And that was the culture of the company. I used to myself, spend 12 days a month traveling. I used to end up making 50-60 sales calls a month at the very minimum. And because we were not a brand at that time, there were times when we had to wait at receptions for an hour to just meet a recruiter in a company, in a small company. And my only thing to everybody was, "Koi check leke aana bas."
Check leke.
₹300 ka check ho ya ₹6,000 ka check ho, but check leke aana. Get the company into our system, then we'll figure it out.
Achha. Okay.
So in the beginning, it was all about just
get it done mindset.
Forget about going to the field.
Okay.
And we hired a lot of youngsters. So it was not as if we hired a few senior people, right, as branch managers and so on, as we opened branches. And those branch managers were also people with 4 or 5 years experience at max.
Correct.
Not as if we hired people with 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
And then we had a lot of these freshers and people with 1 year experience and 6 months experience and campus hires. We expanded. And those people grew with the company. As the company grew, they also gained experience. They also learned a lot. They also became more senior. They grew in terms of their compensation, their role, their responsibility, and it really worked out for us.
So you were looking just for go-getter attitude and the hustlers, yeah. And thank you for giving me that opportunity for plugging Internshala. So as Hitesh said, there were a lot of freshers and campus hires and young hires who built Naukri in early days. And if that's a great validation that freshers can do wonders to your team, for all the startup founders out there. And do consider Internshala to hire freshers and interns if you are looking to hire them. But I going back to the early days of Naukri, you spoke about how you sort of had to convince and give demo to the recruiters, etc. And that's essentially the question. Was my next question, that most of the audience here are 0 to 1 founders, right? And their challenge is, how do I get my first set of users and customers on a regular basis? And for you, it must have been even more difficult because the whole concept of internet was not known, right? So how did you solve that problem where you're sort of introducing a solution that nobody even knows about, and paradigm in a way, right? And so how did that get solved in your case in early days of Naukri?
Yeah, so we understood very early on.
Especially you're getting on the pay also. Like you said, get check leke aana ₹300 it's just unbelievable. I mean,
yeah. So I think you see in the beginning. In the very beginning, we understood that this was all about aggregation. It was about creating a network effect. It was creating a virtuous circle. If you have more jobs, you get more job seekers. You get more job seekers. You get more jobs on your platform. More people get hired through you, and all that. So that virtuous circle we needed to establish. And so in the very beginning, though, we had no customers and we had no salespeople and we had no money. So we used to take jobs from newspapers and put them on the site.
Achha, okay.
So they're a data entry team, and they would say, newspapers se job le lo, magazines se job le lo, and put them on the platform. And nobody would complain because they would get a few extra responses.
Okay.
Right? So that's how we got the first few jobs. And then, of course, we used to send emailers and direct mail to databases. We used to actually, and say, well, listen, if you, and we were dirt cheap. See, 350 rupees was nothing even in those days.
Correct.
Newspaper advertising was super expensive.
Okay.
And like Times of India was #1 brand in those days. And the full page ad in Times of India, half page ad would cost a lot. In lakhs. And these ads had a shelf life of like 1 day.
1 day. Yeah.
Tell people, listen, if you want your ads to stay on Naukri, your ads, if you post an ad on Naukri, it stays there for a month. It works 24/7. It's dirt cheap. Or you get access to everybody in the country. Whoever is online.
Right. Yeah.
National thing. Right? It was a more local. And therefore, we used to say, listen, this is a no-brainer. Yeah, ₹6,000 for a year for unlimited listings on Naukri, which is what we used to sell listings.
Yeah.
350 rupees for single job. Just try it out. Worst case, you lose $350, $6,000. How does it matter? You're paying lakhs to others.
Correct. Yeah.
So we made it a no-brainer for a lot of companies, of course. and we kept it cheap and like penetration pricing. And so that it was, also possible to sell even without meeting face to face.
Correct.
We were able to get a few hundred customers like this. We were not able to go beyond that.
Correct.
And so that worked out for us, and we started getting some traffic as a result.
That's my question. That okay, you got the companies, you made them an offer that they couldn't refuse. But how did you get the
job seekers? See, the truth is that there were very few internet sites in those days. So there were only a handful of companies, which were on the internet. And the early internet users used to look around, yaar, kahan jana hai? So they used to end up on Yahoo, they used to end up on some of these other platforms. And newspapers also used to look for what's happening in the internet. So every time there was something on the internet, we would get coverage.
Okay.
So there were just a handful of companies. We were really poor. Right? Like today, there are some good AI companies, they would get covered.
All the LLMs companies get covered.
The newspapers want to cover whatever is new.
Right.
And then, there was a lot of action worldwide. So India was still tiny in the grand scheme of things, but globally there was a lot of action. There was Yahoo, there was Amazon, there was eBay. All these companies went public in the US. And there was a .com bust. Right. So that got a lot of coverage. That got a lot of people interested in what was happening in India. Venture capital did not exist. As a concept. So because there was venture capital in the US and a lot of those companies went public, venture capitalists came to India. So that again got some excitement. People started putting money into companies that have no revenue, etc. Then, a couple of internet companies got sold at crazy prices.
Hotmail.
Right? There was this Khel.com, Samachar.com, India World. They got sold at a very high price. So then Sabir Bhatia wo Hotmail bechi. Right, so suddenly there was a lot of excitement. Yeah, this is this new game in town. And it could be very, very big. And look at what's happening. Rediff was a big portal in those days. They went public on NASDAQ. Right. So there was in the 2000-2002 time period, there was a lot of buzz around the internet. And internet companies raise a fair amount of money, and a lot of people spend that money on advertising. And they started releasing full page newspaper ads, started putting hoardings, and there was exhibition. So for a while, there was, a lot of coverage. So that resulted in some traffic coming to us.
Right. So did the newspapers realize they were promoting their own competitor who was going to eat away their revenue? Advertising revenue.
I am promoting Internshala today. I may be promoting.
No, actually it's the other way around. Internshala is promoting Naukri in its platform, but in good faith. But there's a question on that. So Ayush wants to know, which is sort of similar lines, how do you guys see young people creating competition for your company? And just a note to all the audience, if you have any questions, please keep throwing them in the chat panel. We would love to pick them up and have Hitesh answer the question. So how do you see competition? And that was one of my questions later on also, but let's take this question for Ayush, that how do you see young people creating competition? There's so many new innovations in recruitment space coming up every now and then. Internshala is one of them in the early talent space. So what is your take on competition as a whole?
So firstly, I think all these startups are fundamentally about young people trying to sort of make a difference, trying to change things. They are the ones who adopt technology early. They are like, I may not fully appreciate what's happening in gaming today, because I grew up at a different time. I'm sure a lot of youngsters have grown up, sort of gaming every day. And, I won't be able to think of what next in gaming.
Correct.
They're better positioned than anybody else to figure out how that space is going to evolve.
Right.
So, internet is a young people game, and we understand that, we realize that. We were young and disruptive in those days. In our company also, we constantly try to hire young talent. I mean, we have senior people to provide leadership and guidance and mentoring and strategy and some of those big things. But, the real work is done by young people in almost all our businesses. We're constantly looking for young talent and trying to figure out how we can push them up. And sort of, as a culture also, we're very open. Anybody can walk in every room, anybody can say anything, anybody can have an idea. We're very data-driven, not hierarchy-driven, etc. So we realize that. We understand that innovation, creativity, tinkering, trying out new things is very, very important in this space.
Correct.
And for that, you need young people, and these old people who think like young people to succeed. So we are, and we've acquired a lot of startups, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to say that. That's your answer.
Yes. So, we've Ambition Box, IM jobs.
Do select.
Do select. So we've acquired at least 5-6 startups. Naukri. In our recruitment business over the last few years, and many of them are doing really well inside InfoEdge.
Right. Yeah.
So, and we are constantly looking. We have a corporate development team. We're constantly looking for young companies to invest in or acquire for our businesses. Operating businesses, the 4 businesses you mentioned.
Correct.
We've also been investing in tons of startups.
Yeah.
As financial investors, I mean, some of our big hits, like Zomato and Policybazaar, these guys are very young.
Correct.
When they started. Right. And they've been big success stories. And our thinking at that time was just like somebody bet on us.
We should bet you bet on them.
10 years ago, in 2000. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to bet on these youngsters who get it.
Yeah. So Ayush, the answer to your question is Hitesh will either work with them or acquire them, but he will make sure that he's always surrounded by young, smart people so that InfoEdge keeps growing and they keep learning constantly. Yeah. So Vandana has a question which has already been answered: how to select your first set of employees at management level. So Hitesh answered it a while back, saying that they were primarily looking for hustlers and go-getters. But just to sort of dive deep into that aspect of hiring, Hitesh, how do you identify who's a go-getter? Like, was there is it just intuition? Or what was you looking for when you say go-getter? ये करेगा नहीं करेगा तो कहने को सभी कर देंगे पर करेगा नहीं करेगा वो भी इंटरनेट.
Yeah, so you look for, you often get things wrong. Right, and we made a few mistakes. We still make mistakes while hiring because how much can you assess in a 30 minute review? Which is why, by the way, internships make a lot of sense, right? Because you see the people.
Thank you.
Right. But you're looking for energy. You're looking for desire to make a difference. You're looking for people who will go out in the field who are not armchair sort of managers.
Correct. Okay.
So you're looking for, of course, integrity is something we've never compromised on at InfoEdge.
Yeah.
People with high integrity.
Yeah.
We used to, very early on, we said, sales will be recognized on collection. Right? Na billing hoga, na kuch hoga, collection pe hoga incentive.
Correct.
Right? So, and so we're looking for people who, are high integrity, are smart, generally smart. When I say smart, I don't mean academically smart only. In generally, they should have good interpersonal skills. They should be able to communicate well. They should be collaborative. They should have the right attitude. That's very important. They should be learners. They should, sort of be in it. Like, this is what I'm doing for the next few years and nothing else. So that's how we hired our, our salespeople and some of the young people we had in the company. And of course, and if I were to step up a little, see the founding team also, they need to sort of gel well together and they need to be able to work well together. So that is equally important. How you choose your co-founders, how you sort of partner with them, how you divide work between yourselves. Easier said than done. And many startups fail at this. And, so we were lucky. I mean, Sanjeev and I and a bunch of other people in the company at that time, a couple of senior folks, we sort of got along well with each other and were able to sort of complement and supplement each other in many ways. That part is, of course, very, very important as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you were interviewing the folks yourself.
Yeah, a lot of them. Most of them. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sabi had a question, which is your biggest challenge while setting up Naukri and how did you tackle it? Again, partially been answered, but if you want to elaborate on that, what was been like if you go back when you're setting up, what was the biggest challenge as such?
So listen, so it's different things at different points in time. So one of our toughest periods was when we were tiny, like I said, and the market for funding dried up. And Monster, which was a global big daddy in those days, which was the big company, they were in 31 countries and leaders in most of the companies they used to operate in. They came to India and acquired Jobs Ahead, which was the number 2 player at that time. Jobs Ahead.
Jobs Ahead. Okay.
Jobs Ahead was a well-funded company, a very good product. They sold to Monster in 2003 or 4, if I remember correctly. And we were for a while scared because Monster was this big daddy. We didn't have money in the bank.
Right. And
we knew they were very hardcore sales and marketing company, and we knew they would just market the shit out of us. And they were unlimited budgets. So we were like, boss, abhi hua to hua, nahi to pata nahi. And we used to, we had this clarity in our head even at that time. These are all winner take all markets. So the number one guy takes
massive disproportionate
and all the profit, and number 2 guys barely make it, and number 3s have no hope. Right. So we were like, this is, make or break for us. So that was, we were a tiny company. We were immature leaders ourselves. We were new to the whole startup game. And we were competing with this big American giant. which was in 32 countries, and which had better technology, maybe a lot of experience.
Product, yeah.
So that was a scary period, I would say, for some time. But luckily for us, we figured out a few things in sales and on product. This new product we launched, RestX, which actually we were inspired more by Monster and JobSet, because it was not, our
whole product was listing before that.
Yeah, exactly. And that really worked out well for us and changed the game and made us like very profitable and so on. And then after that, there was looking back. And then luckily for us, unluckily at that time, but on hindsight, very luckily for us, there was this meltdown in 2008, 2009. There was a global financial crisis. And, that really affected us. I mean, from a point in time where we were growing at 50-60% per annum, we went to minus 25 for 3 quarters.
Right, yeah.
So imagine. But it hurt Monster even more than it hurt us, because they were hurt globally.
Right.
And we didn't realize
they became less focused. They do not that focused in India.
Correct. And therefore, after the crisis, from 2010 to 2012, we ended up gaining a lot of share. So till then, it was almost neck and neck.
Right.
With Monster, but after the global financial crisis and the meltdown, we recovered much faster than them.
Correct.
And we sort of moved ahead.
Right.
So that period, 2002, 2006 was a slightly sort of scary period for us.
You touched upon a very relevant point of being scared of competition and external factors, which I want to ask you about. You've seen .com burst. That was a scary period. You've seen the 2008 crisis that you were degrowing, but you found a silver lining in some way. Then you saw these large players, Monster, LinkedIn, Indeed, entering the market. So what has been your philosophy? I'm glad to hear that you were scared, because I'm scared all the time, and the founders are scared all the time, and it's good to know that even stalwarts have been scared. So what has been your philosophy to because the other day we had Naveen Kukreja, Paisa Bazaar, on the show, and he said don't be in awe of your competition, and that was reassuring for me, that focus on your customers and do what is right for them. So what is your philosophy to weather these challenges, and what is your advice to the founders here who are constantly facing these existential threats, as you yourself said, from the external environment and competition is beyond their control, right?
So my one of the big things we've learned over the years, and there have been some misses also, and every time we've missed. So I think it helps if you are in the market, right? If you are in the market, if you're meeting customers, if you're speaking to your users, I think it's very, very useful. You can miss big things if you're not connected to the market, right? Okay. Like, the database product we launched in 2003, 2004, I used to be the market, meet customers all the time, and I used to get feedback saying, yaar, ye acha chal raha hai. JobSet ka, Monster ka, why doesn't Naukri have a product like this? And it took me a year to convince people, because we were very lean, we didn't have money, yaar, ye banana hai. Right? And if we had not built that product that time, we would have missed the bus. Totally, right? And because that product even today is 70% of Naukri's revenue. Correct. So you can imagine how big that is for us. And, and in our 99 acres business, I can tell you we missed things because we were not as connected to the market as we should have been.
Okay.
And even today, I see that all the time. It doesn't happen over a 3-6 month period, but over a 2-3 year period, we miss things because the market moves. And so I think it's a good idea to be in touch with your customers, to be in touch with your users. Because at the end of the day, this is the advantage you have over the other players. Because, for a lot of big companies, MNC especially, it's like, okay, one product, same product everywhere, right? They don't want to localize. They don't want to make their effort. They don't want to do different small market like India. And you have that advantage over that. So I think that is something I would advise people to do. Be in touch with the customer.
Be in touch with the customer.
Be in touch with users. Customer focused, user focused. Understand your strengths. The second thing I would tell people, understand what you're good at, because I'll tell you, we went through this period when social networking site platforms became very big. Like, why? We were like, yeah, networking karni hai, networking karni hai. It's like, maybe, but we were understood after a while, this is not our core. This is not what we did. The truth is, even Google has not been able to build a networking platform yet.
Correct, yeah.
Because they started a search engine.
That engineering company, they're not a social
network. We were like, we don't really get it. And we are perhaps better off strengthening our platform and making it better and better and better for our customers and for our users than trying to copycat or do something others are doing which we don't fully understand.
Play to your strength.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So, we understood mobile, we were quick to get onto the mobile bandwagon. We understood machine learning and AI. We were quick to get onto the bandwagon. Social, we missed the bus, And you got a LinkedIn, but you were like, yeah, hua nahi, humse hua bhi nahi shayad, right? So we stayed away. We said, yeah, let's focus on what we get.
Correct. Yeah.
So focusing on what you get, what you understand as a company, your core is very, very important. Don't underestimate that. Right. What you instinctively get is what will differentiate you from others.
Correct. Right? But there's so much wisdom. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. And you have to fundamentally, as any company, figure out how are we unique, how are we different, and how are we relevant. As long as you are differentiated and as long as you're relevant, you will exist.
Right. Yeah.
How big you will become is a function of many things. Right? But as long as you have a differentiated offering and as long as it is relevant to a lot of users, you will come to the company.
Yeah.
And you will have a business.
Right. This is the external perspective on how to deal with this challenge. But internally, the turmoil that entrepreneur goes through, the every day of up and down that you go through because you're putting up this brave face to the world outside. Yeah. But internally, you're also scared.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did you calm yourself down on those moments? Right?
So after a while, you realize, we can only, there is stuff that you control, and there is stuff that you influence, and there is stuff beyond your control.
Correct.
And beyond your influence.
Yeah.
Because it's good to understand that there's no point in worrying about those things which are beyond your influence and beyond your control. You can only, there's your circle of control and circle of influence. You can only operate in this circle.
Correct.
And just
be focused on that.
And hope for the best. There was a point in time when Google was, even 15 years ago, was getting into jobs. So they launched something called Google Base. So we were shit scared of Google also that time. Google, they launched this product called Base. Nobody talks about it now. But they said, listen, you can upload all your content on Google. Hum Google mein dikha denge. Google search. For a while, see, our understanding of how digital and internet work was also very limited.
Correct.
Those days, right?
Right.
So for a while we were about. Then we said, yeah, what the hell can we do? We can't do anything about this.
Correct.
Let's just do what we are good at and what we understand, and let's keep improving and increasing our circle of competence with time.
Yeah.
Let's get people who understand all these things into the business.
Yeah.
And then hope for the best.
Yeah.
One
related question on that, because you said figure out how you are unique and play to your strength and continue to become better at what you are.
Yeah.
Right. And that's easier said than done when you're faced with so much external noise. Like, for example, my personal example, right? Now everybody tells me that founder has to build a personal brand. So you have to go on LinkedIn and keep posting your gyan, whether it's right or not, right? And then somebody says do this, and the founders, unfortunately, in today's era, get so much conflicting advice all the time, so much noise, and internally, externally, they also keep deciding how do you sort of stay away from all that and say this is who I am and this is what I'm going to be focused on. How do you do that? Because it's not easy, right?
Not easy, and but in the end, I'll tell you, you cannot sustain stuff which does not come
from within you.
If you're not excited about yourself.
Right.
So if you're not the type of guy who wants to be in the public eye, who wants to sort of be on social media every day and post 20 times on Twitter, you may do it for a day, you do it for a week, you maybe do it for a month, but you will not be able to sustain it because you will not enjoy yourself.
Right.
And after a while, it's a boss, I can't do this.
Right. Yeah.
So, so I think here, what my advice to people, basically, if something which needs to be done, right? It's important for the company, but you're not the guy. Do it because it's not your. Then you get people in your team who can do it for you. You surround yourself with people or hire people who love doing that stuff, who are good at it. Rather than saying, listen, I will do this. Because if it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. Right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think this self-awareness is important.
Being true to yourself and figure out who you are is important.
And I used to in the beginning believe that all idea mujhe aane chahiye. Okay. Then I realized after a while somebody advised me that your job is not to come up with all the ideas. Your job is to ensure that all the good ideas go into the product. Ideas can come from anywhere.
Correct.
It could come from competition. Idea can come from a customer. Idea can come from a junior person you hire in the team. Idea could come from a team member. Idea can come from anywhere. Why you don't have to produce all the ideas? The product managers we used to hire also. ठीक है मुझे सारे आइडिया निकालने यार तुम्हारा काम सारे आइडिया निकालना नहीं है. Your job is to collate all the ideas and then prioritize
make a roadmap
what will move the needle for us and implement those. Right. So I think once you sort of start understanding some of these things, it makes life easier. It's not just about you, it's about getting the work done and building a team which can enable you to do that. And you focus on what you're good at.
Yeah. There's so many questions coming in the chat. I think it can be an evening long session. I'm going to pick some of these. So there are two questions on AI. One is Rizwan and other was from Akash Rajavat. They're saying, how do you think AI is going to change the recruitment industry? So maybe a functional take on this.
Yeah. So AI, I think, is big. See, we started doing AI type of stuff even before it was called AI. So, I'll tell you, for example, we have a candidate services business where we write resumes for job seekers and so on. 15 years ago, we used to do predictive analytics. Who is the likely customer for this offering? And then call on those people and so on. So, about maybe 10, 12, 14 years ago, we launched a feature on Naukri called View Similar Resumes.
Launched
a feature called View Similar Jobs. So it was basically wisdom of the crowd. It was inspired by, Amazon at that time, which used to have these people who bought this also bought this. So stuff like that, right? Yeah. So it was not called AI then, called machine learning, but we had some of these features.
We called data analytics then.
Yeah. So now, if you ask me, see, one of the biggest complaints job seekers and I saw some question around LinkedIn also, data relevancy and so on. Has been see, Naukri is a big platform, get millions of users, millions of searches, millions of applications every day, hundreds of thousands of jobs. One of the biggest challenges for a platform like ours is how do you match jobs to resumes?
Correct. Yeah.
Right? So, two people who search for the keyword Java, we have very different Java jobs in mind. Somebody may be looking for a Microsoft type of Java job. Somebody may be looking for a entry-level Java job in an Infosys, CS, right? So their, what they have in mind is very different. Now, how the platform needs to understand that and show them the right jobs, right? Similarly, like I mentioned, job alerts. We used to have this feature where we send you alerts. Now, company posts a job, I have to find out. You need to figure out who are the people who are relevant for that job and we'll talk to them. Now, in a market like India, where there are, 140 crore people, everybody wants a better job and so on and so forth. In the Indian market, very different from developed markets. And that is how. See, if you post a job on Naukri today, on an average, you may get 300-400 applications.
Now
the company is looking to hire one person. Nobody wants to go through 400 applications to hire one person.
Correct.
So they're like, can you please give me the 10 best guys? I only want to speak to the top 10. Or
correct.
Top 10, Now, how do you do that? Right? That's where AI comes in. Perhaps it was not solvable early. Earlier.
It's doable now.
Now it is doable. Similarly, when a Microsoft searches on Naukri for people, can we show them different resumes from, let's say, when a startup is looking to hire people with similar skills on Naukri?
Correct.
We can understand from their past behavior that they're looking for a different type of person. Right? So now this is at scale. It's hard to do. See, but AI is going to make it possible. We are already doing a lot of work in this area.
Right.
So we see a lot of stuff like this happening on Naukri, and problems which have been unsolved for many years could finally get a solution. Or or if on a scale of 1 to 10, if we were at 5, we could perhaps move this, to 7 or 8.
Right.
Through if we deploy AI and machine learning properly on our platform. These are just some very simple examples. Now our resume writing service, career counseling, can all be AI driven.
Right. Which is not possible earlier. Now Gen AI makes it possible.
Not possible earlier. So we have a bunch of people. We have now we have actually a 75 strong data science and AI and machine learning team at InfoEdge.
And some of the largest, actually. One
of the largest and a very high quality team. And we've been investing in this area for years now. And it's yielding a lot of results for us. So we are sort of very, very bullish on long-term prospects. And it's just starting, right? I mean, technology is only going to get better and better with time. Helping companies write JDs. I mean, sort of use AI to populate posting forms for them and so on. We've identified multiple areas of deploying, multiple areas where AI can be deployed in all our businesses.
If I can sum it up, you have been doing AI even before the world knew the term AI, and now that the world knows AI, your journey is only going to accelerate from here. And I think that's a secret sauce also of Naukri. A lot of people are talking about LinkedIn, and I also use both Naukri and LinkedIn. But I think the fact that Naukri has been able to retain 70% of the market share, right? It works so much behind the scene on the product and the process innovation. I was speaking to Manoj about the story of how the SMS got integrated into the Resdex. So in 2011, so today sending an SMS to your database is just an API call, which is half an hour. And back then you had to sort of integrate with all the operators one by one and start sending in. So I think constantly identifying needs of the market and building solutions around that is what kept Naukri ahead. But I want to
I'll tell you another story. See, like I mentioned to you, Google did not exist.
Correct.
When we started.
So you had done SEO.
Google became very big. So there was a point in time when we were perhaps the only advertiser from India on Google. Okay, when we were trying to build our database.
Right.
And the only other companies which used to advertise on Google were Amazon, USA, and even on Google India, because they would advertise globally.
Correct.
eBay and so on. And we understood the power of search engine marketing early, and thanks to a youngster we hired at that time, who was very bullish, because I used to think, Naukri kaun hai? She told us, listen, I can double the number of resumes you're getting on Naukri if you go aggressive on search engine marketing. And so back then, we started advertising on a few 100,000 keywords. So you would search for Amitabh Bachchan on Google, you would see post resume on Naukri.com. You would search on, no matter what you search for. It was very basic. It worked for us. Right? You have to stay ahead of the game. You have to invest in these new emerging areas early.
Correct.
Sometimes you fail, sometimes you succeed, sometimes it takes you a couple of years to figure things out, but you have to do it.
This second time Hitesh has talked about how fresh youngsters help them identify the trends, and I think that's a good advice for startup founders, that always hire folks who know the technology better than you, and surround yourself with them, especially in the technology sector, so they can always stay ahead of the curve. Shivam had a question on how do you maintain your passion and motivation for work that we covered previously, so I won't touch upon that again. Shivam, you'll get a recording of this session after the session gets over, so you can go through that. There's a question from a student that I think I want to take, which was, I think it's a student, I'm assuming. He said, what would you tell a young salesperson if they're starting in their career? What are the key skills that make you succeed? And I think you're the best person to answer that question, because you built a sales engine for an internet business. So what do you think is an advice to a salesperson?
So 2-3 things. One, spend as much time with customers as possible.
Okay.
That's the job of a young salesperson. Spend time with customers, don't spend time in office. Right?
Don't spend time in office.
Go out and meet people, and get better and better at selling and pitching and closing and negotiating and writing proposals and building relationships and stuff like that. Be in the market. That's how you learn. The other thing I've seen about good salespeople is they have empathy for the customer. So the customer, so it's one thing to just sort of go and blurt out what you want to sell. It's another to understand customer problems, customer pain points, ask the right questions, try and make the customer understand that you are there for him or her for a long time. You're not just there to do a sale, that you understand their concerns. You may not be able to address all their issues. Because in the end, you have what you have to sell. You can't solve all the problems. But if customers feel heard, they feel that you're going to be around, that they bank on you, that you will be there to service them, and not just make the session disappear, they're more likely to do business with you.
Right.
I mean, all things alike. This is something I've learned. People will do business with people they like. All things not being alike, also people will do business with people they like. That's with people they like. So that's important. You make yourself likable, right? The third thing I've seen, at least in my experience about good salespeople, is that they also have a bit of an ego. Yeah, मुझे target तो करना ही है. चाहे कुछ हो जाए.
अच्छा.
The good guys won't give up till the last. They don't sort of call it quits at 4 p.m. and say I'm a घर जा रहा हूँ. They are constantly sort of at it.
रात को 11 बजे check लेके आएंगे.
So that's the other secret of smart salespeople which I've seen over time.
So stay in touch with your customer, have empathy for them.
And know your product inside out, of course.
Obviously.
That is...
This reminds me of a story that I heard from, I think, again, Manoj or Sumit in your team. They said, so in Naukri, the salesperson stays, right? But the customer keeps changing companies. And they continue to do business with the same. So that's how you grow new customers. Because you had a company A, recruiter A in company A, working with the sales guy at Naukri. Sales guy is enjoying his time at Naukri, continues at Naukri. Yes. The recruiter moves to company B, so company B becomes your client, and company C becomes your client, and they become CHROs in the journey of different organizations, but they all remain customers of the Naukri. I think
that used to happen all the time. And
I think that's a secret, the network effect that you talked about. They are so familiar, and they said that we have so much faith and trust in the salesperson that we've been in touch with.
Yeah.
And I think that's a secret sauce of Naukri. I see a lot of functional questions around what are you going to do with Shiksha, what are you going to do with quadrangle and gig economy, etc. In the interest of time, I'm not going to touch upon them because I would rather pick up some of the broader themes that we have. And I got a question from Kiranika in my personal chat, which is related to a question that I want to ask. Her question is, and I'll then phrase my question. What are the important things that a person should keep in mind while building a startup? And I'll build on that question. From building a near decacorn, InfoEdge has about 65,000 crore market cap, to you that you built yourself, to investing in unicorns and decacorns like Policybazaar and Zomato, 1 lakh crore plus market cap. You had both inside out and outside in view of the world, startup world, right? So in your opinion, what does it take for us to build a startup into a large business? And I think that sort of answers Kiranika's question also. That what are the sort of key ingredients that go into building a startup, a large business?
So this is, something we understood over time that, it takes a long time to get anywhere. Right? Especially in a country like India, it takes at least 10-12 years if you have to become successful.
Okay.
Even today, I think it takes, back then it used to take that much time. Even today, I think it takes the same amount of time. And therefore, it's not a sprint, which is what I've told people, it's a marathon. You have to run it for a long time.
Be ready for the marathon. Okay.
And like somebody has also said, overnight success usually takes about 10 years. People notice you, but they don't realize. Suddenly they've been at it for 10 years.
Correct.
And so I think that is something which people need to understand, that it takes time to build something size and scale. The other thing I think which I have sort of learned over time is that the quality of the founding team matters. So with the beginning, it's just you have just ideas, and if a bunch of people who are passionate and who are excited and who can partner well, work together, they're more likely to succeed. Because it's a difficult journey, it's a lonely journey. It's there are ups and downs, like you said. Who knows? A couple of mistakes we could have not existed, because some things we just got lucky. Right? Especially in the 0 to 1 phase, it's not easy. Right. Anything can happen anytime. And it helps if you are, a couple of people and you are able to work well together.
Okay.
So the third thing, I would say is, listen, you focus on getting product market fit. Don't scale before you're ready.
Okay.
So if you don't have a product which is in demand and which people like and which people come back for, keep at it till you get it right. Because if you start, investing in, because money is available and you raise money, people have pressure on you and you go out and sell. But it's a leaky bucket. It's not going to scale. And then it becomes hard because you're not prepared. Right? Because you've got these valuations, you raise a lot of money, you have to show growth. And if you haven't got your product market fit, it's not easy after that.
Sure.
It's riding a tiger. In that case. So, and many startups go wrong here, especially when money is available and there is investor pressure and so on. So I think it's important to understand that your product chal raha hai, right? Is there demand for it? Do customers like it? Is it making a difference? Is it solving a problem? Right?
Okay.
And once you figure that out, then go all out and scale quickly.
Okay.
Right? Then go all out and scale quickly, because you don't want anybody else to take the market away from you. Right? And you want to establish yourself before there is a lot of competition.
Sure.
Right? So I think, so if you try to run before you walk, learn how to walk, then it becomes very easy. But once you figure out that, you're walking, then please start running before others get it.
Sure.
Right? So I think that's another thing we've sort of learned over time. And we've seen
walk before you run, but once you start walking, then run.
Yeah, once you figured out the product market fit, because ये market है, and ये चल रहा है, and there is demand, and we've got something going, then scale up, yeah.
Right.
10x. scale up from 1 to 10. I mean, if you figure out 0, then go to from 1 to 10 as fast as possible.
Sure.
And of course, as you do that, you have to keep building your team.
Processes.
Get the right people on board, processes, the people, systems. You know, you have to invest in that. Don't compromise on integrity, because we've seen a lot of good companies, good startups, I mean, very, very smart people go down because they were in a hurry, because of integrity issues, because of whatever.
Yeah.
So that is, I mean, as far as possible, just stay clear of some of those things.
Yeah.
Make it very, very clear to
It's non-negotiable. Integrity is non-negotiable.
It's not negotiable at all. Right?
Right.
That, because that can destroy you. You know, you may be onto something you may be the brightest founder.
Right.
But that can destroy you overnight.
Yeah.
Right. And reputation matter in the long run.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. And so I can go on and on, but I'm just saying these are some.
I think I just sum it up. We talk about walk, sprint, and marathon.
Yeah.
So don't first figure out to walk, then run, but it's not a sprint. You have to run like a marathon. And this reminds me of a phrase that an American baseball coach told his team, that the biggest trait of an entrepreneur is how long can you sprint when the distance is unknown. So that's what entrepreneurship is about, right?
And here's one last thing I would say, which is, again, I don't know who said it, but it helps if you. So you know, it's so the best hockey players in the world, they don't run to where the ball is. They run to where the ball is going to be. Right. So because if you know where the ball is, there are already 5 players fighting for it. You have to figure out where the ball is going to be, and that is where you have to run to. And that is about understanding trends and markets and
opportunity.
And being early.
Yeah.
That matters a lot in the startup world.
Right. Okay. How much time do we have now? We have about 5 minutes more. I just have.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Okay. So one compliment for you that has come in, so I just read it out, and that's just not just for you, but it's for LinkedIn also. It says you have an account on LinkedIn, but I know top executives working in building LinkedIn have accounts on Naukri.com for searching job. That's the beauty of services you have built. And I hope some of them may have had accounts on Internshala also when they were a student and looking for internships. So maybe that's what it is. 2 last questions from my side. One is on the fundraising bit, because again, we are talking to 0 to 1 founders, and you raised capital from ICICI Ventures in 2000, right? When the world venture capital may not have even existed the way it exists today. So how hard was that? How many no's did you get before you got yes? And what your advice would be to founders who all think that they're now going through a funding winter and funding is dried up, etc. So what was your experience of fundraising? And I'm assuming it was very similar to what it is today, but just maybe tell us a bit about that.
So I'll tell you what happened with us was, luckily for us, we raised money at a time when actually we were not even looking for money. We didn't even understand venture capital.
Okay.
But the market was super hot, and there were investors looking for companies to invest in. And, one of our competitors raised money, so we were like, "Yaar, agar humne nahi uthaya, to pata nahi hamara kya hoga."
Correct.
Right, and therefore, and luckily for us, we were able to raise money.
Okay.
In fact, what happened was that we submitted a business plan which was not very aggressive, because we couldn't understand how we'll go from 3 lakhs a month to even 3 crores a month. So we were like, "Yaar, ab 5 saal mein hum 20 crore kar lenge," and the investor was like,
20 crore annual revenue.
Annual. We said, "Boss, we can't even. I mean, right now, 50 crores looks like a lot. So, we don't know how we're going to get there. But luckily, the market was hot. But the money, came in tranches. Was supposed to, so we didn't get all the money in one go, right? So, and there was a .com bust, like I said, within a few months. Within a couple of months, I was raising money. We were lucky. If we had delayed it by another 2 months, we would not have been able to raise money.
Correct. Yeah.
So we were lucky. We raised money, but there was a .com bust. So, but because our business plan was conservative, and we were able to meet our business plan, there was no reason to hold back.
The money kept coming. Yeah.
The money kept coming, and then we learned very early on that, boss, hey, pata nahi uske baad tum paise milenge. Therefore, if you can learn to get money from customers, there is no better way. Then we won't be better than anybody else. So
that's the only round you did? The ICICI Ventures round?
That's the only round.
Wow. And did you get any no's? You said you raised in a super hot market. Did you get any no's? Or was it a straight yes when you went
No. So we spoke to 2-3 people. But we were able to raise money easily.
Okay.
But if we had not raised money for 2 months, we would not have been able to raise because the market changed.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And all funding dried up. And if we had raised the money and spent it like a lot of other .coms did on advertising, without having figured out the product, without having figured out monetization, we would have burned that money very, very quickly. And that is also something which happened to a lot of companies.
Right. Yeah. Right. I think this conservative, being frugal is a mindset that I see throughout Naukri even today.
Mindset, you can see it in everything we do.
Yeah.
Even today.
Audience, I just want to sort of quote a statistics. For a 65,000 crore company, Info Edge has a marketing team of 45 across 4 brands: Naukri, 99acres, Jeevan Sathi, Shiksha.com. And when I heard that stat, I was stunned. I mean, I think that's a sort of one stat that I want to share with the audience, that this is how lean.
Actually, I didn't know it was so big. So
oh God, Sumit is going to come behind me saying that 45 people, that's all the team for a 7,000 crore brand. But I think that has been your DNA from day one, being frugal. And I think in an environment like this, that helps. One last question for you, Hitesh, and this one personally close to me, because mental health of entrepreneurs is one of the least talked topics. And we always have to put up a brave face to the external world, to the odd customers and the team, etc. So what have been your low moments and failures, and what helped you overcome them? And you know, the mental health and the ups and downs that we face. एक minute में hero हैं, एक minute में लग रहा है बंद हो जाएगा business. It takes a toll on you and your family and their health and everybody. So how did you deal with this? And you said you were scared, so I'm assuming you were gone through some of these anxious moments yourself. So how do you deal with yourself? And you've seen so many founders in your net whom you supported over the years. What has been your take on this whole mental health for entrepreneurs, and how do they should deal with all that comes with entrepreneurship? And that's the last question for the day.
See, my take on this whole piece is, I think too many people are putting too much pressure on themselves early on. Hey, yaar, mujhe $100 billion valuation chahiye, $1 billion unicorn, this, that, etc. That's not how we should think. In our time, we used to, and most entrepreneurs to think like, listen, can we survive? Can we build a profitable business? So it's okay. We don't have to build a 1,000 crore company on day one. Can we get to 1 crore revenue? Can we get to 5 crore after we get to 1 crore? After we get to 5 crores, can we get to 25 crores? That's how we used to think. And can we stay profitable and not sort of put too much pressure on ourselves? Of course, there were all kinds of other sort of concerns, like I said, competition, and used to worry us. But I think if you start riding a tiger, it's very hard to dismount the tiger.
Correct.
Come under this. So if you start competing with other people, listen, this guy has built $1 billion company, I need to become $1 billion, whatever. Or, I need to get, this is my goal. My goal is to build this valuation. That puts an inordinate amount of pressure on people. I think if you can sort of focus on solving a problem, building a business, building a profitable operation over time, and not worry too much about how big I will become. If these work out, everything compounds, after a while. So you get there. But if that is your thing early on, then I think it just puts too much pressure on it.
Right.
Like you said, listen, people tell you, listen, you need to be seen in
I think today's entrepreneurs are disadvantaged because there's so much FOMO that they get exposed on social media. Right. And
so I think that is important. Like I said, this whole, it's good if you have a team, if you have other co-founders you are working with. Just sort of so that the pressure is distributed. It's not all like one person, right? So several people are in it together. ठीक है.
एक दूसरे सपोर्ट देंगे, आंधी चल जाएगा ना. अब कभी तू डाउन है तो तुझे सामने वाला ने.
And like you may not have ideas at some point, somebody else may have an idea, right? And then you try that out, and if you are sort of not for some reason you fall sick, or you are unwell, or you're not able to stay back, or somebody else is going to the market taking care of things. So there is that sort of thing out there. I think that is also useful in my view, especially in the early years.
Which I spoke about the quality of founding team.
Yes.
Well, I think they can become the support ecosystem for each other.
Correct. And I think what I also understood very early on, and I used to tell myself, it's not the end of the world if things won't work out. मैं तो यार यंग हूँ, मेरे को नौकरी मिल जाएगी कहीं ना कहीं, नहीं चले जाएंगे, कुछ ना कुछ हो जाएगा, right? I used to always say, listen, let's see what happens over the next 3-4 years. If not, we'll figure it out. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of the founders today are fully educated.
Correct.
As if they are, many of them have been to good colleges and good institutions, etc. So it's not as if they will not be. And like in our company, we love to hire failed entrepreneurs. We are like, these guys have energy, they have passion. So it's changed from back then. Those days, people used to not talk about failure at all.
Correct. Yes.
Right? Because it was like a dirty word. But today it's not like that. Yeah, even if you fail at what you do, you will easily get good jobs, and you will also get a second attempt and try to do what you want to do. It's not the end of the world. I mean, there are enough people who make it in 40 and who make it at 50 as well. It's not as if you don't make it by 27 or 28. But I think people are putting a lot of pressure on themselves, and you don't have to start in college. I mean, who said all? I mean, it's okay if you start great, but it's okay to work for a few years and sort of learn a few things, and then if you get the opportunity, you sort of do what you want to do, or if you have an idea, do what you want. So I think there's a lot of media pressure, a lot of sort of. I think people have to just change.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I think to all the founders out there and to myself, I think the word of advice from the pioneer of consumer internet in India is don't be too hard on yourself. This is like beyond what we are doing.
See, the nature of the beast is that many starters will fail. Yeah, that's understood. That's it's the nature of the beast, and you'll get a second chance, you'll get a third chance. It's okay.
All right. Okay. On that positive note, Hitesh, we would bring this session to a conclusion. Thank you so much for your time. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. There's so much that we learned from you and picked up. I hope all the founders out there, the audience out there, I hope you got some bits from this conversation that will help you in your journey. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. It's been lovely having you as our audience. So thank you so much. We take your bye and have a great week and have a great 2024 ahead.
Thank you, Sarvesh, and all the best to all the founders who sort of were attending today. I hope you guys do well going forward. All the best to you.
Thank you so much.